you know, because a lot of people think like, I've been trying so hard to gain followers, which myself, I don't understand that concept. There's like, when people are like, I need more followers, like, no, you want them. You don't need them at all, actually. But that's one concept that I still don't understand, but I still try to help kids with, is like, you don't need, it's more of a want. And it's, at the end of the day, there's so much more to life than how many followers you have anyway. Like, what about your friends that you interact with every day, your parents, your siblings, or like when you travel, going to see different cultures? Like, there's just so much more to the world than having a lot of followers.
Hey everyone, welcome to The Rose Show. This week we have ex-martial artist turned freestyle, Domitrick Lewis. Domitrick, as he is known, is a social media influencer with hundreds of thousands of followers. He got his rise to fame a few years back when martial arts became more freestyle, which is called tricking. We will have a heart-to-heart with Domi about his feelings on ethics and social media, the reality of being a social media influencer, and give some stories about the reality of traveling the world for a living. This episode is for anyone looking to learn about the truth about social media, whether you're a young athlete trying to become an influencer, or someone who's a little bit older but wants to know what's really going on. Okay guys, let's go. Dom, how are you doing today? Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm doing really well. Just a little bored here during quarantine, of course, but it is what it is. We're all in the same boat. I've been sitting there to get away from all of my family. So like, that's my, like, when I can lock myself, because if I'm in the bedroom, like, my little brother knows how to pick the lock and stuff. So he comes in and like, I have no privacy. I can't sleep, can't play video games without him wanting to play. So like, when I go in the bathroom, I can like lock the door and I'll just like stand in the shower and just stand there and just not just like
hide away from the family.
Yes.
That sucks. But hey, I guess it's going to be going away soon. So I don't know. Everyone's just kind of all over the place and just, I guess, trying to kill time. We've been focused on this educational stuff, but it'll be good when things can get back to normal.
Soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But we had some people asking us, because we told everyone that we were going to do an interview with you, and obviously everyone's messaging real fast, you know, oh, Dom. So the first question was, what is his actual background? Like, where does this guy come from? I've seen his videos, but how did he get to be the Dom that we all know?
Well, my background is, it's not the most conventional route. I'm completely self-taught, and I grew up training like outside with my brothers and like neighbor friends and stuff, because like I grew up in a trailer park and there were a bunch of other kids in there as well. So like when I would go to like we had a little playground in the trailer park and stuff, so like I would go to the playground and like jump around with my friends and just like started teaching myself that way. And then I just ended up loving it, and my brothers continued to do it for a while, and then they kind of fell off of it. So now I'm like the only one in my family who still does it. But like started teaching myself on grass and concrete most of my life. And then my first time stepping foot in a gym of any kind, like a gymnastics gym, I was 16, and I went for an open gym. And then like while I was at open gym, I'm like, holy shit, like I can fly. Like I my first time on a spring floor and stuff, I'm like, this is crazy. So I started going there for open gyms all the time to train. And then I was offered a job there to start coaching like basic tumbling and stuff. And then I had a knack for coaching. So then I kept coaching all the way up different levels while training there after hours and stuff with some of my teammates and friends that I made throughout the years of like flipping around. And it kind of all just snowballed to where I am today.
That is really cool. So you're legitimately a freestyle athlete, and you just kind of built it up yourself, you know. So what were you thinking of when you were training? Was it just go for it and here's some, like, who did you look up to that kind of inspired you to become a tricker?
There were a few other like neighbor kids and stuff, but then like once I started to get more serious with training, that's when like YouTube was just starting to get pretty big. And so like I'd watch YouTube videos if I could of like any other flippers there were out there. And then like even though I was never a formal gymnast at all, I would pay attention to a lot of the gymnastics, like the Olympians and stuff. And so like Jake Dalton, I would watch tumble all the time. And one of my close friends, and now he's And he was dating Simone Biles for a long time. His name's Stacey Irvin. He was like my biggest inspiration for tumbling, because he's a monster, and he was on like senior national team and stuff, and went to University of Michigan. And so I would watch like videos of people like that. And then other than that, it was just like kind of doing all the skills I was doing, and then just trying to one up it a little bit. Like, oh, if I can do this twist, why not try another? Or if I can do like one flip, why not try two? And then I didn't try to get too crazy with the flipping aspect. Like, I don't want to end up hurting myself. I know it can get a little dangerous. Some of the kids nowadays are insane doing like quints and stuff, and I'm just like, I'll stick with two flips.
I'll stick with the easy stuff and stay alive, you know. Yeah, that makes sense. That's pretty cool, you know. But as you're developing, did you have anyone actually coaching you, or were you literally just picking it up off the street legitimately?
It was completely like all myself, but then obviously the friends that I started training with and stuff, especially once I got more into it. So once I started going to the gym more often, the gym that I was working at I'm in Port Huron, Michigan right now, but my home gym here, All American Flames, the gym owner would let me and my teammates and like friends use the gym all the time. And when I say teammates, it's like my tricking team and like freestyle tumbling team. It's not like a gymnastics team. So she'd let my teammates and like friends and stuff, she'd let us go in there after hours and like flip around, and we all had our own different styles. So like I would learn watching them, and like they would learn watching me. So we'd like feed off of each other and figure out different ways to do different skills. So I mean, we're all completely self-taught, and I was self-taught, but I still learned a bit by watching some others. But I never had any formal coaching, no.
Well, it's interesting because you have now kind of become, you know, like we said, big brother of the community. All the little kids love you and look up to you and come to you for advice and stuff. So how did you transition into that? Is there any difference, or is just you're giving them what you were basically looking for as a kid as well?
It's more the latter. Yeah, I'm like giving them kind of what I was looking for as a kid. I mean, I guess I was looking for it, but didn't really know I was. So now that I look back on it, I'm like, geez, it would have been really cool if I had like someone to help me out, or like give me tips and pointers and stuff, or just someone to like look up to or talk to and stuff, someone to inspire me. Which, I mean, of course I did have my inspirations and stuff, but there weren't really many people at that level that I could actually like talk to. So it's been, I guess like a good goal of mine to kind of mentor and inspire the next generation. And I mean, most, as you know, like they all know they can come and talk to me about flipping, tricking, trampoline, just life in general, getting bullied, whatever it is. Like I'm always here.
That's cool. Yeah, no, it's just really good. And that's why we wanted to obviously work with you back several years ago before we started really getting to know each other. We knew that you had a great reputation. So, and it's been really good. So when you're working with these athletes now, what would you give them, any advice you'd give them if you could actually have them listen? We know that obviously some of them do not like to listen. Bad kids that we know. But if they were going to listen, what would you tell them that maybe something you've learned that you would go back and try to give them?
I mean, I've never been super, super serious to the point where like I don't find it enjoyable. But I mean, I see a lot of people that are like that. So like whatever sport or whatever like creative art form they're doing, like don't take it too seriously. Obviously take it serious to a point where like you want to progress and accomplish goals, but make sure you're having fun with it. Cause I see so many people that like get up to a certain level and stuff, and then they're just like, this isn't even fun anymore. And so, I mean, just make sure you're still having fun and being creative with the stuff you're doing, and don't take it so seriously. Cause I see so many people that take it to that point where it's like, they take it so seriously that they get angry with it. And then it's like, what's the point in even doing it anymore? So just make sure that you're remembering to have the passion and the love for it above anything else. Not so much I have to be this good or this good, or I have to be better than this person. Or, I mean, it's always good to be better than you were yesterday, you yourself, but like, you don't have to always compare yourself. I guess that'd be another one. Don't compare yourself to everyone else. I see that so much. Like I don't care. People are always like, oh, you're the best. And I'm like, I'm definitely not, but thank you. Or people will say, this person's better than you. And I'm like, yeah, they probably are. Like, yeah, I mean, people always like to make it more of a competition than it should be. So definitely just kind of train for yourself and to make yourself happy, and don't worry about what you're doing compared to other people, and make sure you're having fun with it.
Well, yeah, and it works perfectly because these kids now, it's not really just being the best flipper or anything like that, which is really subjective anyway. It's more of finding what is special for you that you can then monetize and, make it either you're influencer or you're a stunt guy or you're a performer or whatever it is. But now there's so many more options. You don't need to, go up the ladder all the way to those dangerous heights. You can just get more creative with something a little bit tamer.
Exactly. And that's something I preach to the kids a lot. And like, since I've been home, I've been doing a lot of online lessons. So like online private lessons where obviously it's not beginner kids where I have to be more hands-on coaching. Like it's going to be pretty difficult to teach someone a back tuck safely if they're just like in their basement on a FaceTime call with me. But like it's kids who are already a little bit intermediate or advanced who are just looking for immediate feedback and pointers and tips and stuff. And so like that's something I always tell them. So like, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to try this. Like they do a triple back. They're like, I might as well go for quad. I'm like, well, why don't you try doing like this instead and give them like a nice fun combo to try. And then they're like, wow, that's like creative and really difficult at the same time, but it's not dangerous. So like, yeah, sometimes the kids like to, which I understand the thing about like loving that feeling of danger and stuff like that. But there's a point where it's like, it's a little bit too much. So if you throw some creativity into it, it makes it still difficult and just not as dangerous.
Yeah, it gets you, it's a challenge, but it's not just making it, impossible. And because eventually you're going to get like a negative acceleration where it's eventually you're going to get to the top and you can't get anywhere just because of the human body, never mind equipment. So you're really better off going more sideways and thinking about creative stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's very good advice. Very good advice. And I agree with it 100%.
I look bald in some of this lighting, unless I like put my head down.
You do look a little bald, or maybe it's just like your aura. Like, oh.
Well, I mean, I also have a 12 head. Like, I could put my my forehead just seems so big.
Forehead, dude, like a rhinoceros, just bang.
It's weird because it's like actually 4 fingers. It's a forehead, but like it feels way bigger.
I have like 3. I'm like 3 basically.
3. You're a normal one. I don't know why it's called
my brain is smaller. Maybe it means I'm dumb.
Well, I mean, sometimes.
That's okay. I have my moments, just not very often. And when I do have a good moment, I don't remember it.
I've been there.
Haven't we all? So as you're working with these kids and you're mentoring them, I see obviously you've been working with Nidal a little bit, the little crazy guy. How's that? You taught him how to do your famous Dom flip. What do you even call that when you sit on your butt and go?
Well, the sitting handspring, I just call it exactly that, a sitting handspring. But the sitting backflip is the Dom bomb.
That's the Dom. Okay, so just make sure there's a distinction there. So you taught him that basically, or at least the handspring version I saw.
Kind of. Well, he learned it. So like, I mean, he is the most. It's weird. Like I feel like he has something in his brain where there's actually a term for it because some people do have this, and it's like where they can mimic things. Like when they see it, they can mimic it, and it's like an actual. Like he watched videos of me, and because him and his siblings are homeschooled, and so his older brother Jamel would send me videos of Nidal sitting in his living room, like on the carpet, just watching videos of me every day, and he would just sit there and study and just watch me and then just do it, and like that's how he learned, just by mimicking my body movement. He just studied it and then did it.
That's some good genetics or good determination or motivation or
all of it.
Yeah.
He has it all, yeah.
How do you think he's going to do if you keep working with him, or he keeps developing despite who he works with? He's
going to do well. I mean, we've worked together a bunch now. I mean, that's how it started, was him just watching videos of me. But now, I mean, I have a good relationship with his family and stuff. But he is already leagues ahead of a lot of people that are much older than him because he's only 10. And so it's just like it's nuts. Like he's already doing triple fulls on ground and double back and stuff, and he's one that's completely self-taught, and it's just he's an anomaly. He's definitely a prodigy when it comes to anything acrobatic. His body just knows what to do.
Yeah, you can definitely tell.
He's going far.
Yeah, he's going to go. If he sticks with it and, really gets his head on his shoulders, which at 10 years old, you don't know if his head is on his shoulders. Yeah, he has no idea what that even means. He's like, well, I don't know, career. But once he gets going, we can keep helping him. I think he will do very well, and just keep with it. And it's like all these crazy guys, man. Like I see these kids doing 7 flips at GT games or at site, before and stuff like that. This talent that these kids have is just It's crazy, you know, like do you think it's good though? Or do you think that that's all of a sudden opening up for potential danger? Because if everything's so easy, doesn't that take away the need for progressions and training?
I think it's a mixed bag. It's like a double-edged sword almost. Like it's really good because it's good to see where the sport goes and how it progresses and stuff. And it's just like any sport has its risks and stuff like that. But yeah, the downside would be opening it up to being a little bit more dangerous. But as an athlete, people should understand and know their limitations. And I don't like saying it like that, like limitations, because of course not. We all want to think we don't have any limits. Like, oh, sky's the limit and fast. But it's like physically, you can only do so much without getting hurt. So just people understanding and knowing their limits of where they are at that time, and progressing properly instead of just like going for crazy things. And that's the biggest battle that is had right now, because of, I guess, like social media has a big part to do with it, because you get to see all this crazy stuff happening like right away, and then you're like, I can just go out in my backyard and do that, instead of like going and seeing it in person and being able to ask this person, like, how do I progress into doing what you just did? Instead, it's just like, I saw them do it, now I'm going to go and try it. And it's something sometimes where it's like, it's kind of dangerous.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I mean, again, it's like it's a double-edged sword. It's a mixed bag. So it's good and bad. It has both.
I think long term that people like I think of social media as a new wave, right? It's kind of like you learn when it's new, like driving a car. It was way more dangerous at the start because everyone's learning, everyone's going crazy. They didn't put in regulations. People didn't learn how to do it. But then over the years, even though you have more cars being produced, your actual level of accidents is staying lower, or at least the same level. So it's all relative. It means that there is an improvement in the safety standards. And I think with social media, like any technology, we're going to eventually learn how to regulate ourselves with it. At first, it's like, oh my God. But then, you know, you're going to hear more stories about your friend getting screwed up and this, that, and the other. And then the next generation of kids is going to be a little bit more hesitant to just believe anything online. So I think it's like a normal evolution, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't get too worried about it, but yeah, it can get scary. I see kids like those, man, with that parkour guy. I always remember that video. He's on that, the I-beam out in like how many meters up? Like, no way. I remember Nito from GT Games, this guy on his cliff. No,
yeah.
no. I'm not doing that. I'm going to have a beer, you know?
Yep. Yeah. Nate is nuts. NATO, he's crazy. But I mean, that's one where I'm like, if someone else saw that, they're either going to be like, whoa, that's impossible, that's crazy, that's stupid. Or some people are going to get the idea, like, I can try that. Now, the thing is that Nate knows his limitations. He knows he has perfect body air awareness and stuff like that. So that's why he can do what he does, and he does it well. But some people are going to see that and be like, I can try that. And then, I mean, if they do try and fail at all, there's like minimal room for error. And if you do fall, like, you're going to die. But like Nate gets it every time because he knows what he's doing, and he knows exactly where he's at that point in time. So that's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's an evolution thing. There are people doing crazy stuff, but they know what they're doing. And then you get some people who are like, I want to try it, but don't really know what they're doing. And then it's like,
maybe that's just trimming the hedges of the species. Maybe it's a good thing. You know, everyone looks at it so negatively, like, oh my God,
Darwinism.
I'm like, well, hold on. If you had a really bad person that, you know, committed some terrible stuff and you could get rid of him before, just saying, there's a plus and minus here. You got to look at both sides of the equation.
Charles Darwin.
Yeah, man, Darwin, that guy, he said, no, it just, as long as you're winning, then it's you know, you're doing it to yourself. No one else is forcing you to mimic other stupid stuff. No one's forcing you, you know, and that people don't like to put that into the equation because, you know, apparently no one should be responsible for themselves. But and that's where you get the debate. It's like, well, how much responsibility should you have really? Whenever there's a lawsuit back in the day with, you know, injuries, they would automatically lose. It didn't matter whose responsibility it was. It didn't matter at all. And it was an automatic loss. And I don't think that's fair, because there's a lot of factors that come into play when one human behavior happens. You can't just say, oh, I saw a video, therefore that guy made me do it. There's tons of videos, tons of content, tons of information being thrown at you, different contexts, different environments, different genetics, all that. So it's not that simple, even though people try to simplify it. So.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. It's not always fair. And yeah, a lot of people like to not not take responsibility for stuff. And that's one of my biggest things with like trampoline parks. It's like someone gets hurt and it's like, well, you signed a waiver for a reason. And not on top of that, it's like, well, you kind of knew what you were getting yourself into. And if you get hurt, it comes along with the territory. And I feel like it's like that with a lot of different things. And so many people are quick to be like, oh no, it's the equipment's fault. It's like, no, it's your fault.
Well, yeah, the equipment's been there. Before you got on the equipment, there was nobody with a broken ankle.
Yeah, it's
So
like
it was,
you need to learn how to jump right, or like, it's
the weekend warriors.
a mixed bag.
Oh, well, back when I was 20 years old, I could do backflips. I guess nothing's changed in the last 60 years, and it's like,
well,
there's definitely been some things that changed, but yeah, it's frustrating, but it is a concern that we got to make sure, because we're like, you're obviously an influencer and people look up to you and obviously watch your channel because they see that obviously all the stuff you're doing. And does that bother you that people kind of look at you for almost expecting guidance or expecting a certain type of dom when you just want to say, screw it, I just want to have a beer, not talk to you, and be the little that I am sometimes, like everybody is. Do you get frustrated when you got to always be on all the time?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I've grown used to it. Like I don't know. It's kind of a role that I know I put myself in. So I don't know. I don't want to say I play it well, because it is just how I am. I mean, it depends on the setting. So, I mean, if I'm with like you and Trish, obviously we're having fun. We're out drinking a little bit and like, doing fun stuff. But when I'm around the kids that are like looking for guidance and stuff, I don't ever find it really annoying, because I'm just like, I kind of try to put myself in their shoes at all times. And I'm like, well, I see where they're coming from. I see why they want to ask me this, or get guidance on this and stuff like that. So I don't know. I find it more as a blessing, I guess, than a curse.
Yeah, that's good. You're like a natural coach. You're like a natural mentor that wants to be there and all that sort of. I'm more of a science guy. So for me, I look at the kids almost as animals that you can train them like a animal trainer sort of thing, because I like the biology, I love the psychology of it, and just getting into that science. If I wasn't doing this stuff, no joke, I would just be with a book all day long, just reading different articles and stuff. So for me, I like coaching. Not like I like the kids, but I like to see development. I like the progress. It's not really the self-help I'm looking for to like solve all your problems, which I will help you with that because I know it comes with it. But the part that I really love is seeing you get that new skill and seeing that progression, because that means you unlocked something new within yourself that you didn't know. That's where I get my kicks, at least.
Yeah, and that makes sense. That's the most, I guess, rewarding part.
It is, but everyone does it for a different reason. I've had coaches tell me that they take athletes and they use them like race cars. They literally take the athletes on the weekends to race them, and that's what they get, because they get that adrenaline rush because they see the athlete kicking butt and they're right there with them. So it really depends on what you're there for. But like, I would say that influencers really are coaches at the end of the day nowadays. They're almost like life coaches, because the kids will message us and say, hey, I have an issue, or they'll message Freddie, and Freddie does some psychotherapy with kids and stuff. Oh, I'm getting bullied at school or whatever. We work with Dan, Dan, and all that. So it's almost like the influencers now are becoming parents and coaches of the newer generation, where maybe some traditional establishments are not, keeping up the pace,
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that? Is there any truth to that, you think?
Yeah, I think so. But I definitely agree. But I feel like some of the influencers are in that role, but don't kind of understand the responsibility that comes along with it. And so they're put in this role, and then they don't kind of live up to it, I guess. And I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna say names and stuff, but because you have so many influencers out there now on TikTok, Instagram, everything, and not just in the flipping community, just in general. And regardless of whether or not they want it, there is a certain amount of reputation that they're going to have to uphold. And if they want to continue to be an influencer or something, I guess you could say, because you can't go into it with an attitude like, oh no, well now I'm in this high platform and my shit doesn't stink, and whatever anyone says or thinks doesn't matter. Which, at the end of the day, whatever anyone says or thinks about you really doesn't matter. But if you are going about your life in like I guess not a really good or clean way, then it does matter.
Yeah, that's the thing. And it's tough because, you know, it's very easy for someone, like, let's say a parent, they'll watch and they'll say, okay, Dom's got some great content. He's a really nice guy. He's a good influencer, let's call it. We'll say good and bad influencer. But then you'll look at some of the guys, and I know the type of people you're looking at here when you mention those ones, and they'll say, okay, this is a bad influencer, you know.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, okay, so if I would take the other side, like, I understand what you're saying completely, where there is that moral obligation to not be basically a, you know.
Yeah.
Then you have the other side, though, that says, well, hold on a second. I got up to this thing. Is it really my responsibility to raise your kids because you basically didn't do it? You know, to kind of, it's almost like when the parent says, well, I'm busy working today. So, you know, big sister or big brother, you're going to take care of little brother. And God knows every big brother or big sister hates that. Right. So I can see then the frustration on their side saying, well, I just want to give people content. It's not my fault who follows me. I can't control that really. So
Yeah.
I don't care, you know, and I can also see that side too. You know, what
Yep.
do you think about that? Like, is there validity to both arguments?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, like absolutely and definitely, like especially on what like the point you just mentioned, like you can't control who's following you, and obviously you want to put out the content that you want to put out, and especially if like that's what got you your following or has made you an influencer, and like whatever you are putting out there and stuff, of course you want it to be somewhat like, I mean, it has to be reasonable stuff, not anything like too bad, but you definitely just want to try to keep it, trying to like figure out what I'm trying to go with this train of thought. You do have that moral obligation in a way, but you don't have to take it to the point where you are actually parenting someone else's kid. So what, like you were just saying, like that, yeah, that's definitely not any influencer's job. Like you shouldn't be anyone's parent except for your own children, if you actually have them. So as an influencer, I don't think it should be that serious to the point where it's like you are so much of an influential figure in this person's life that you end up being like a parental figure to them. Because that's more so than an issue completely different in that kid's household, not that influencer.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Because that's, you know, it's almost like the parents will quickly push the blame off onto the influencers of their kid rather than saying, well, technically you were the first influencer, mom and dad, and they're now decided to leave your influence whenever they can for whatever reason, whether it's valid or invalid, doesn't really matter. And now they found other influences. You can't shelter the kid from other people's experiences. So to try to then, you know, message other influencers and stuff and tell them what they should be posting, I think that's drawing the line. Maybe you control what your kid is able to see and how often they can see it, but that's not the influencer's job. They were around before, you know, all that. Let's switch gears anyway. I always have the same necklace I see here. Speaking of necklaces, with the bullet. Yeah.
Oh, it's weird. Yeah.
What is the story behind that?
So, growing up, the household that I lived in was me, mom, grandma, and sister. And that was like up until I was 19. My grandma finally decided to like move out and just go out on her own and have her own friends and stuff. And I mean, it was right down the street, of course, but she finally like, you know, she's like, you know what? I want to get out and do my own thing. She wasn't old or anything. She wouldn't, she was, I guess she would have been probably like 55 when she moved out. But yeah, so she just always lived with my family. So it was me, mom, sister, grandma. And then, so we were always super, super close. She helped raise me. She was like another parent in the house, always, my whole life. And we were I was always a grandma's boy, like mega grandma's boy, like the movie Grandma's Boy.
Oh, but, I love that movie.
Yeah.
That's a good movie. That's you.
Yep. But but she passed away now, it would be 3 years ago. Just a couple days ago, it would have marked 3 years. But yeah, so this is an urn with her ashes in it. So now she travels around with me and goes everywhere.
Oh, that's sweet. Okay. Yeah. So you're like what you do now, your career and your pathway that you're on really is kind of dedicated to her as you go.
In a way, yep. Because I mean, she was always scared of the stuff I do. She's like, "Oh, you're gonna hurt yourself flipping," but she always loved it. She absolutely ate it up, but she was always like nervous and scared, and like she knew I traveled the world all the time, and she was always happy for me, but worried at the same time. So now it's like, well, she's there with me, so she doesn't have to worry. But yeah, so she's
injured with the necklace on, then she gets injured with you. That's double trouble.
Yeah,
You're going
exactly.
down with me, Grandma.
We're in this together. We're in this together.
Okay, so now that you have been traveling the world, as you said, and you are an influencer and all that sort of great stuff that comes with it, what is it like traveling all the time, basically for a living? Because every time we talk to you, you're in a new city or a new country or something. What's that like? Is that good? Is it bad? What's the ups? What's the downs?
It's a bit of both, and I mean, I know that you know this because you travel for a living just like I do. You're always all over the place as well. I absolutely love it. My whole life I've always loved traveling. As a kid, I traveled around the U.S. a little bit with my mom and stuff. We'd go to visit my grandpa out in Vegas and stuff like that, or trips to Florida, little things like that. But then once I was 17, I as a graduation present, so I graduated high school and I was going off to college. So that summer, my mom and dad were like, "Hey, we're going to send you to Europe for a little while and you can go have some fun." So I went off to Europe and I went to France, Switzerland, and Italy. And then from then on, I'm like, wow, the world needs to be seen. The world needs to be explored. And I just wanted to start experiencing more cultures, meeting more people. And so that kind of sparked that flame. And then I went off to college and I studied international business. And while I was there, I studied abroad in Dominican Republic, and I went to China for a month. And then I just started traveling a ton. Once I started to grow in tricking, as an influencer in tricking, becoming like a pro tricker and tumbler and stuff, I started traveling around to different events around the world, and now it's kind of just been nonstop since then. So it's been a good, almost a whole decade that I've been traveling, but the past 5 years, I've traveled pretty much nonstop. And I do love it. Sometimes it's good to sit and reset. Like right now, I've been home in Michigan for a month and a half, and I've been forced to because this whole quarantine thing. But it has been nice. It's been good to just sit and reset and stuff. I definitely feel weird not being on a plane this long, but it's good. It's good to always take little breaks and rest. But I don't know. I have no problem being one who's like always on the road and always flying around and stuff. Like, I feel like I just have homes everywhere. I do live in a couple different places, like actually have a home in a couple places, but wherever I go, I always feel like I have friends there and like I can go and visit them and stuff. And it always feels like I have another home somewhere else.
Yeah, no, and that's basically how we live. So, and obviously, you know that, and I'm with you 100%. I ran away from home in some weird way where I just said, this isn't what I want. The lifestyle that's being kind of thrusted upon me here is not what I'm looking for. Obviously, I went with a bit more of a fighting attitude than I think you did, obviously.
Yeah.
But, hey, man, sometimes you got to break the chains, so you can't they don't just let you go all the time. And it's been the same for us. It's been basically about a decade. I was like 20. Yeah, I was about 20 roughly when I was off Team Canada and basically said, what am I going to do? And yeah, then 10 years, but for the last 5 years, it's been pretty consistent, go. Ever since basically like Nitro Circus and all that, then it was just nonstop. And it's good because it's always something different. I love the idea that when I wake up every single day, I don't know what I'm going to do. I literally get to go through my emails and all my social sites and stuff just real quick within like an hour and just see all the different messages from brands or from people or from this, that. And then that sculpts my day. And then based on that kind of stuff, I go, all right, today is content day, or today is reach out to new sponsor day because I just got an email blast from somebody that gave me an idea or something or like that. And there's no set confined thing. That's what I love about it. And that's where I don't know about you, tell me if this is for you, but I feel like I couldn't even go back to a 9-to-5 job. I feel like I'd rather die on the road being a failure than say, okay, well, I'm going to quit that, and go work. I couldn't never see myself do it.
Yeah, no. And I mean, I eventually my goal is to open my own gym and stuff, but like, even then it won't be, obviously it's going to take a lot of work in the beginning and I will have to be there all the time in the beginning. But once I've sculpted it, molded it, and have the people that I know and trust to kind of run it, manage it, and like coach there and stuff, I can pop in all the time, but I definitely don't see myself sitting and doing the same thing for hours a day for the rest of my life. I just can't do it.
No, it's after one back handspring, I'm tired, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I could only watch so many seat drops, man, so many flippases, so many triples, even the cool stuff gets boring real fast. And that I used to coach constantly, from, 9-to-5 coaching job, like everybody else. And I loved the kids and it was fun in that way. And I saw the progression. So like, I liked it, but I just now looking back and realizing how much more exciting my life is, I couldn't go back. But with that said, you know, that's all the good stuff, and we get to meet all cool people and meet other influencers and obviously open new doors that you never would have thought to open, you know. But on the other side of that, there's a lot of stress to it, you know, and it's almost like you're on the road and that gives you motivation, but the road also beats you down a little bit as you go. Can you tell us like some funny stories about maybe some of the worst traveling accidents or issues or anything that you've had that you can tell us?
Yeah, I mean, I rarely have anywhere I'm like that it actually has to do with when I'm flying, but there have been a couple. I went years without ever having any luggage issues or anything, and then one day it started, and it's happened a few times since. But last year I flew to Japan to go to my. It's not my actual sister. So when I was in high school, my family hosted a foreign exchange student from Japan. She lived with us for a year. So we were her host family, and like she was my sister, my host sister, or I was her host brother, I guess. But we've stayed in touch ever since, and that was like 13 years, yeah, about 13 years ago, and we've stayed close since then. So last year she got married. I flew to her wedding and lost my luggage.
Okay.
But this is the issue: is that like my luggage got lost. I flew from like New Orleans to LA, or New Orleans to Arizona to LA, and then stayed in LA overnight, and then flew from LA to Japan. Now my luggage never made it to LA; it got stuck in Arizona. So here I am flying all the way over to Japan, but I don't have any luggage with me. Now, whatever, you know, it is what it is. I can always go buy like a shirt or two or something. My luggage might make it to me, but the fact that I was going to a wedding and I had dress clothes, like I had stuff that I needed to wear. Yeah, so I mean, it just sucked. And then I was jet lagged, which never happens. Like that was the first time I think I've ever had jet lag like that, to where like right when I got there, I had to go to her apartment and like pass out for like 4 hours. And then I woke up and it was like midnight. But I was planning on like staying up and grinding through a little bit and then falling asleep at a normal time. But instead I like got there, took a nap, my sleep schedule was all off. And then 2 days later, the day of the wedding, the airport calls and they're like, "Oh, so we have your luggage now. We'll drop it off to you." And then it got there like just in time for the wedding. It was just one of those times. I mean, it was, looking back on it now, it's like, it was funny and whatever. And it wasn't that bad, but at the time I'm just like, no way, this is crazy. Like, what if I don't get my luggage? What if it's stuck in the US and I'm just stuck in a whole nother country for a while with nothing? And yeah, but I mean, that isn't that bad, but it was just a big inconvenience. But I mean, when it comes to actually traveling around, I don't have anything that like too bad that has happened.
Ever missed a flight?
Yes. And that's a rare thing that happens. And it normally, and I'll say this with confidence, it's normally not my fault, like ever actually. It's normally it's normally one where like I actually get on my first plane, and then when I get to the next place, like my flight is delayed, or like my first flight might be delayed or something, and I get on it, and then by the time I get to my connecting flight or something, the flight had already taken off. That's happened to me a few times now, which sucks, but it's like that's one that's like out of my control. And I've gotten used to talking to customer service and stuff and figuring out what to do and booking new flights, stuff like that. There was one time, this one was kind of bad actually. Woodward, Tahoe, which is one of my favorite places in the world, gets super, super, super crazy snowstorms like from November to like March. And I was doing my own, like I have a little bit of a partnership with Woodward, and I was doing my own like meetup at Woodward Tahoe. And it was like my own little meetup thing where kids would come and hang out with me. And this was in like January, like 2 years ago. And they had this apocalyptic snowstorm that lasted for over 20 days. And it just happened to go down like the day that I got there. And so I was snowed into the mountain. Like I was staying at a friend's house at the bottom of the mountain, which is like 25 minutes away from camp. So I'm at the bottom of the mountain. I drive up there, and then by the time I got up there, the snowstorm was insane. No one was allowed to leave the mountain. They closed the mountain down. So I was stuck there at Woodward. So I just stayed in their like cabins and stuff. But then I had to the rental car that I had to like figure out how to put chains on the tires and stuff, so I wouldn't, like, so I could make it back down the mountain the next day. mountain was still closed the next day. So I just had to sit at Woodward for a whole nother day and just do nothing because, I mean, nothing was open or running. And then the next day I could finally drive down the mountain and had to figure out how to get these chains off because you can only go a certain speed. So now I'm trying to hurry up and make my flight in Reno, which is like a 45-minute drive. So it's not too far, but I'm sitting there trying to go down this mountain, but you can only go so fast with chains on your tires. So I have to pull over, and there are semis flying past me, and I'm like on the shoulder of the road trying to figure out how to take these damn chains off. And then I have to like speed. It was crazy. And then I had to speed down the mountain and make it to my flight. I made it, but it was, that was a.
That's funny. That's funny, man. I missed one flight once because I missed a couple flights, but I missed one, and I'll never forget it because that girl was such a bad person. I'm being,
for lack of better terms.
Yeah, for lack of a better term, she's a bad person because when you have the layovers and all of a sudden you're traveling for like 48 hours or something like this. So, and then you're just kind of flight to flight to flight, but you never really get a rest kind of thing. So I'm like, and I'm in Mexico and I end up getting there. I'm like, okay, fine. My flight leaves in like an hour. I'm gonna have a quick little power nap. I end up getting to the gate and there's a girl there that does the check-in and everything. And I'm like, okay, hey, look, I'm going to sleep right here, right in front of you. You're gonna wake me up, okay? And I'm using very basic English because I didn't know how much she spoke. And she's like, yes, sir, no problem. I'll make sure I wake you up before the flight. And I'm like, all right, good. All right, this is perfect. Good customer service. Nice. Okay. And she was pretty, and not that it helped, but so I go to sleep, right? And I wake up about, however time later, and no one's there anymore. And I'm like, damn. So I quickly get up, I look, and the girl's there. It's the same girl, right? And I'm like, quickly go, wait, can I get on? She's like, no, you missed it. And I'm like, you told me you were going to wake me up. And she's like, no English. And I'm like, oh, you bad person. And I'm like, no, you're joking, right? I'm like, I asked you. She's like, English, you're going to have to go to the guest counter. So I have to go and I have to buy another ticket and everything, And I was like, are you kidding me? And she was there laughing with her friends. I was like, yo, what do you mean? Like, oh my God.
She just didn't like your haircut. That's what it was.
No one likes my haircut. I don't know what to do with my haircut. Like, I don't.
Yep. Cut it like it used to be. I posted a video of us the other day, like the first GT games when your hair was shorter. And I'm like, throwback to when Greg had a normal haircut.
What is wrong with this? My haircut used to be too short. And then I just looked weird.
It looked fine like that, the way it was.
That's what it always was.
And it looks fine now if you think so. But
I don't know. I'm just so lazy now because I'm on the road. I'm like, am I really going to stop and get a haircut? No, I'd rather go and do this. I'd rather do that. Oh, no, man. And I have a weird bumpy Russian head. It looked weird. Like Coneheads, the movie, I have like a square bird, like an octangle, whatever word that is. I don't even know.
Octagonal head.
Octagonal head.
Like a stop sign.
Yeah, it's like a stop sign that gets narrower as you go. So I use this to cover up my face, which is not my greatest asset.
Oh man. Well, your shirt's nice, so.
Yeah, the shirt caught on. It's good, but I go through these like crazy. Every time we go to Bali, every year, I just re-up and just get a whole bunch of them. But then I've ripped through them or lost them, or every time I bounce on the trampoline, the button gets stuck in the holes. So then and all of a sudden I have like no buttons on these shirts anymore. So they're just more for show at this point. But
yeah,
it kind of caught on. The marketing is a unique thing. It's interesting because you took business. And obviously you learned about marketing, and obviously about marketing. I like your background here. It's very nice, And well, as you did it, yeah. What's with the eye thing? What is it? How did you even know you could do that? What kid even practices this?
So when I was little, I have terrible eyesight. So I have my contacts in. I've worn glasses since I was a kid, but I had to go to the eye doctor all the time. And I used to, just for fun, I would cross my eyes at my sister or something just as a joke. And then my mom would be like, stop, your eyes are going to get stuck like that. So then one day I'm like, okay, let's see if that's true, Mom. So we go to the optometrist and I ask him is this okay that I do this with my eyes and stuff? He's like, oh yeah, your eyes will be fine. It just means you have really strong eye muscles. And especially when I was doing one at a time, he's like, wow. That's pretty impressive. It's pretty good. And my mom's just sitting there looking at me like, wait till we get out of here. I'm beating her ass. Yeah.
Oh man, that's poor Tandra. Did he know that that was the deal, that you were trying to stick him against your mom kind of thing?
No, I'm sure he didn't know, but like, and so that's like something like this background was that had to have been from a Snapchat probably. So like I would probably snap like this and someone screenshotted it and then made a sticker of my head. But yeah.
I would never have thought to do that, as a kid. The things these kids come up with now.
Yeah. I like it.
I think it's cool.
I could just talk to you like this.
I know. I feel like I'm looking at some kind of special person.
We're not going to go down that route right now.
I had to be politically correct. I'm learning, I'm still old enough that I use all the 1990s words on a regular basis, but with these kids nowadays, you can't even do that. I remember one time I was in a clinic and I made a joke about, not a racial joke per se, but like a colloquial joke about a type of individuals that everyone kind of knows, and all the kids in the clinic were like, "Oh, blah, blah, he made a joke about this. That's bad." I'm like, "What, guys? Like, who cares? You don't even understand the context of what we're talking about here. What do you mean?"
Yeah.
And that frustrates me that, like, the younger generation now, I don't know, like, a lot of them are really good, and like the kids we deal with, they're really nice, generally speaking. Obviously there's a couple little buttholes everywhere, but but there's also the group that just is like, they're really put themselves above all the adults. That's like, well, how did you get here without the adults, basically paving the way for you? And it's kind of interesting, because it's almost like the middle is leaving. It's like the economy, right? You got more on the 1% and down, but the middle is kind of going away. And you see kids that are either really motivated to be business and get into flipping and entrepreneurial stuff, or you get the kids that are just completely, like, I don't know, a waste of space as far as I can tell.
Sometimes, sadly, yeah.
So it's harder to find a nice level-headed kid. But like Sebi, I love Sebi. He's perfect.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, Sebi, man, imagine where this world could go.
That it would be the ideal utopia. Like, just perfect little Sebbies running around.
Oh my God. I bet there's a lot of parents that are secretly saying, damn, I wish I had a Sebi and not this one.
Absolutely. And Sebi's parents are awesome too. Yeah. Sebi's, yeah.
Your parents are good. We've always seen, like, if you have good parents, you generally have a good balanced kid. Kids do dumb stuff, so do adults, so it's more just a general trend, but it comes a lot from the parents. And I like, the way I like about this community is that even though the parents aren't always available, because everyone's getting busier, everyone's now got like 3 jobs just because the price of everything just keeps going up, and employment keeps going down, and companies keep squeezing everybody, but somehow we still have higher prices, blah blah blah. So I understand that, and I think that's what's really cool about this community. I was talking to Andrew and Julie from GTramp when we were in New Zealand, and that we were talking about how they've had to come on board to really help give some more support to the kids and all that, and they become parents as well in some sort of way. And I think that's what's happening. Like, we back in the day, it was almost like when you had only farmland, let's just say back in like 1800s and stuff, the family unit was the unit. You all had to work together, kind of the way these G-Trampers sort of work together in their little communities and their little meetups and stuff. And it was like that because you all had to survive. And then all of a sudden we get to capitalism, which has a lot of good things, a lot of bad things. But now all of a sudden, part of the part of the effect of capitalism, I guess we're going to call it, would be the idea that now all of a sudden everyone's kind of not really cohesive anymore. The older generations don't work together with the kids as much. But this is where I think almost social media is actually filling in the gaps a little bit, and I think there's a lot of positivity there, not just, oh, you're going to see something and die, it's easy to get negative, but there's
some stuff right now. And I see so much, like, when kids are doing like flips or whatever, and then they want to quit. Everyone's like, no, that's stupid. Like, why would you ever quit? And it's like, well, what if they don't like it anymore and they want to do something else? Like, you can't be like, you're not in their shoes. But it's like, if you were on a soccer team and someone's like, I want to quit soccer and maybe play a different sport, no one's going to cause a big uproar about it. You know what I mean? So just kind of follow what you love doing, follow your passions, whatever it is. And sometimes those will come and go, no matter what it is. But whatever it is at that time, put your all into it, do your best, make sure you're having fun with it. And then the other big thing is just try your best not to compare yourself to your peers. In most ways, I mean, obviously it's good to be a little bit competitive with certain things, but just make sure that you're not putting your entire, like, your value of yourself based on what like Timmy down the road is doing, or what like Sandra next door is doing with her life. Like, you just make sure that you are living your best life and not trying to live someone else's.
Yeah, it's very easy to fall into that trap, especially when all you're seeing is all the cool stuff all these influencers are doing, and it's very easy to say, damn, why can't I do that, you know? So that's why I feel it's part of my job as being, you know, just a low-level influencer, nothing too crazy. I don't want to handle much more than what we already deal with, but, you know, I want them to understand how to be able to do that themselves. I don't want these kids to look and say, well, I have no chance at it, so it's just a pipe dream, because it's not a pipe dream. It's basically just perseverance, you know? And how long would you say it's taken you to become the Dom that we all know and love? How many years has it been developing for you?
In all honesty, I mean, it would be like my whole life, if we're being honest. Like, I mean, from like my childhood, my upbringing, all that different stuff has molded me into who I am. But with social media and stuff, I mean, I've had Instagram since 2011. So that's 9 years. And things didn't start to blow up until like 3 or 4 years ago. So it's like, that took a while, and it's something I didn't really expect to happen. But with a lot of kids nowadays are like, oh, I just want to be famous. And it's like, well, life is way more than just that. I promise. Like, way more.
Yeah.
But aside from that, it's like you see all these influencers doing this or that, and it's like some of these people have incredible talents and they earned it, they deserve it. Some of these people got just lucky, just luck of the draw with algorithms of Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, and like it. So I always try to tell kids, like, try your best. I mean, do whatever you want and have fun with it. And if you think being famous on social media is like your life goal, have fun trying to do it, but don't literally make it so miserable on yourself that, like, if it doesn't happen, that like your life's meaningless, you know? Because a lot of people think like, I've been trying so hard to gain followers, which myself, I don't understand that concept. There's like, when people are like, I need more followers, like, no, you want them, you don't need them at all, actually. But that's one concept that I still don't understand, but I still try to help kids with, is like, you don't need, it's more of a want. And it's, at the end of the day, there's so much more to life than how many followers you have anyway. Like, what about your friends that you interact with every day, your parents, your siblings, or like when you travel, going to see different cultures? Like, there's just
blame the kids. And I don't know if it's a need or want. That's probably based on the kid, obviously, you know, what side of the spectrum you're on. But they grow up in a world where everything is all about capitalism, and the more followers you get, the more money you get. It's a very easy sort of connection to make, sort of thing. So I get it. But I think because we were too cheap to get insurance on the flight, because we thought it was a one-day little thing, and all of a sudden you lose your passport, and all of a sudden then this person doesn't show up, and there's a lot of stresses, you know. And
there is.
And it's not that simple. So you got to really decide, is being an influencer really for you? If you're a go kind of person, then yeah, probably it is. And yeah, go get some followers and go create something cool and show people your path. But otherwise, there's nothing wrong with being a doctor, being a lawyer, and, you know, even a little social media on the side, just a little part-time thing, like a little podcast that only has 200 people, but you can talk about exactly what you want to those close people. There is something to be said for not selling out to the public, you know?
Exactly. And like, speaking on, like, they don't see all the different things that come along with traveling, like the go lifestyle, how you can hit speed bumps and stuff. Like, a lot of kids they see all the allure and the glitz and glamour of, this person has all these followers and they're hanging out with all these other people with all these followers. And what they don't see is all the behind the scenes stuff. Like, you're hanging out with all these followers and you're recording a video like for hours on end because you have to keep redoing it or something, like little things like that. But then, are people prepared for the type of online hate you're going to get because people are bored and people are keyboard warriors and like to say stuff online? Like,
you get
influencers, not as much anymore. I mean, I used to, and I was never one to let it really get to me anyway. But I know that some people don't have that same type of mindset. So I know that like some of these people who are influencers, or some of these people who want to be influencers, when they end up getting some hate, it's going to be a whole nother story for them. And then, but like with all those followers, that is a big part. Like that's the reality of social media, which social media has its crazy, amazing ups, but it does have some downs. And that's one of them. It's like, yeah, when you become an influencer, yes, you might have brands that approach you, but you also might not. A lot of influencers don't do brand deals because they're not approached by brands, because it depends on what your content is.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's like, again, you're going to get some hate, some backlash. There are always going to be people out there like that, whether or not it's social media. That's just life. There are some people out there that just sadly have a negative attitude. Are you ready to deal with that? And like, are you ready to deal with tons of people commenting and you trying to comment back, and people getting pissed that you don't make it to their comment, or tons of DMs and people are like, why can't you DM me back? And just stuff like that. It's like, there's a lot that goes into it that a lot of kids don't see, or a lot of people don't see, I should say, because just anyone in general trying to make it on social media don't take into account that it's not just, oh, I made a video and I just got 300,000 views and me and my other friends with millions of followers, we're just living the best life. Like, yeah, there is a lot of fun to it, but there is a lot of work that goes into it, and there is a lot of negative backlash a lot of the time from people as well.
Yeah, because you're basically opening up your private life to everybody and telling them the things that you think, why you think them, and what goes with that. And no one ever agrees on anything, sadly. So even when you post one thing, like we post that Renee Caselli guy that does the elephant stuff.
I love him, dude. He's awesome, man. But people hate on it.
Well, yeah, they hate on even us when we even repost his stuff, and he has a best relationship with his elephant, and we're gonna actually go visit him when we're back in Europe, where we're gonna do a cool little training with him and Frankie and everything. It's gonna be so sick, right? But the reality is that I'll post it, and then everyone says I'm promoting animal abuse. I'm like, you know what I mean?
And it's so crazy because people just see that on the internet and they're like, oh, this guy, he just like has this elephant, but it's like, you have to understand that here in America, we have pet horses and stuff. Like people have horses and they ride their horses, and it's like, it's an animal just like a horse, and people are fine with riding a horse. Why would you not be fine with this guy who takes very amazing care of his elephants, and he has a few, and like they're like a family owned thing. Yeah. And it's a family owned, it's been in his family always. It's like, if you went to, and he's from another country, like if you go to a lot of other countries, they have types of exotic pets because that's what's native to where they are, even though I don't think the elephants are native to where he is, but they're family pets. And you see how well people take care of their dogs, how well people take care of their cats or their horse. Like they treat that animal like it's a part of their family. And so I don't see where there's an issue with it. But of course people are like, oh, this is crazy, how dare he? And it's like, why do you have a pet dog? Why do you have a pet cat? Like that dog could be out in the wild running around, but I don't know. So it's a different, again, that's more of a touchy subject. I understand not having certain animals like tigers and stuff like that are like on their way out of existence. Like that's a little bit different.
Is it Texas or Florida that has like the largest, has all of the tigers or something, and all the population all in their backyards? Which state is that? You know what I'm talking about? There's that Netflix show that came out all about it with the tigers.
Oh, well, I mean, I watched that whole show. Yeah, the whole Tiger King. I watched it twice, and it's
crazy.
Man, let me tell you, that was a wild ride. Did you watch the show?
I watched about the first half of a season. So I've gotten to the part where I haven't got to all of it. I got stuck on Money Heist, actually. So
I haven't watched that yet.
It's pretty good. It's well done, even though and I'm going to sound like a terrible person, it's in a different language, dubbed over with English, but it's actually really well done, because a lot of those times those films are B-rated kind of and then get imported, but it's actually very well done. And you also forget after just like one episode, you get into it and you forget that you can't really see the mouth move and sing.
It's dubbed. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure if I'm not wrong, I'm pretty sure it's a show from Spain. Yeah. And like I was watching a thing on it where like it flopped in Spain really bad, and it was like it didn't go anywhere.
Really?
And then Netflix picked it up, and now it's like one of the biggest shows in the world. And all these people, like all the people from that show, like have these crazy huge careers now. But at first it was just like a flop over there in Spain, I guess.
Well, that's actually a perfect segue, because that's exactly what we're talking about. The context matters when social media is something that just doesn't fly in America, but you do it in Poland or Spain. But in America, everyone wants to hear about bank robbers in America. Spain doesn't really, they don't really do the bank robber sort of toting guns sort of thing, really. So no wonder it didn't. It almost, I bet they looked at it like an insult to their national heritage, kind of more than anything. But America,
possibly, yeah.
You know, but America was like, hell yeah, man, this is awesome, you know, and it actually showed the other side. So it's a very well done show, but it's perfect example of what we're talking about with social media here, that context is, I think there's a great quote like, you know, absolutes are for losers and context is for kings, and something like that, where it's all about the context and the environment. And that's the problem with social media that these kids don't understand, is that there is no context really. It's whatever you want of it. Even though you're producing one type of content, the context gets changed depending on whose ears or whose eyes it goes into.
Yeah, because it's whatever you see, that's what you get. You don't know anything behind it. Like that's,
and we've been a victim of that. You know
all the time.
We get, you know, we have people say, I hope you break your neck, and I hope this, that, and the other, and all this sort of stuff. And,
crazy.
But for us, we're like, well, no, we're promoting that kids can do what they can do, and they can progress, and they can do it their way. You know, that's all we promote. How we do that's a second story, but that never goes to the critics. They just say, I didn't like the visual appearance of that one little stimuli in that one moment of time that told me really nothing about anything. I'm going to jump to conclusions, and I'm not going to care, and I'm going to spread bad hate just because I have a video that somehow backs up what I'm saying, which it doesn't at all. And the kids don't see that that could be, you know, we've tempered that, and they've gone away because they realize we're not quitting. We're moving forward with this. So that lot has stopped, but the kids don't understand that comes with it. So if you're going to open yourself to public, you better be ready for what they're going to throw at you, and you better have a tough skin.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's whether or not you want it, it's going to be there.
Yeah, no. And I know, there's lots of instances where just social media can go bad, and it's you got to be ready for the fight. It's not just, hey, look, we're in another mansion, here's another car. And you know how many times well, the kids also don't realize how much sometimes those people are lying, you know, and it's actually my brother's car, or it's my brother's mansion, or this, that, and I'm just,
or we rented it for a day, stuff like that. Yeah,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like with circus tricks, when we did the Def Jam, not Def Jam, Def Con,
FlipCon.
I think Def Jam, like back in the day with like, you know.
Def Jam is a record label.
No, but it's also a fighting game.
Well, Def Jam Vendetta, but it's a fighting game based on the record label. That's why like Snoop Dogg and all those people are like fighting.
I just remember the fighting game. Me and my buddies would play Def Jam in my basement. So we'd all do like 2-on-2 kind of thing, and we just beat the crap out of each other and put holes in the walls and stuff.
Dude. Def Jam was the game.
Oh man, it was a great game. But yeah, no, I don't know. It's you gotta see the reality. Like with FlipCon, you know, we were just there for the weekend. It was a big, nice mansion and suites and everything. They put up the crew and everything, but that's not where they live. It only costs what, like a couple grand for, you know, a nice mansion. We did one for GT Games a couple of years back. That was only like $2,500, which is it's not that much considering, you know, but they look at it like you're there all the time. I had a kid come up to me at an event and say, oh, Greg, you're rich. You live in these mansions and stuff like that. I'm like, no, I'm just doing good. Like, you know, we're making 6 figures, but we're not up here just because of what we do. Then I think the kids need to realize that it's not just an automatic money maker. You have to have an underlying product or service on top of an influence. You know, influence is just your audience. It has nothing to say how much they're going to pay you for anything.
Exactly. And a lot of people thought like, like with the amount of following I have and stuff, they're like, oh, wow. So like you must get paid a lot for everything you do. And I'm like, no, I get paid based on like what I do otherwise. Like I do coaching and stuff like that. That has nothing to do with the amount of views I get, the amount of followers I have. I get paid for brand deals, yes, and that matters, but it also tailors directly toward the type of stuff I do. Like I have my massage gun and my recovery boots. So it's all like athlete stuff. You're not going to see me being able to promote like some other lifestyle product that some like model girl is going to be doing and getting paid a bunch of money for. So it's not like you just get every type of brand possible throwing stuff at you because you have a big following. It's like, no, it's going to be based on what type of following you have. And then people are like, oh, verified, you automatically must be making so much money just because of the check. And I'm like, no,
No money with that. I didn't get a check. Did you get a check? I didn't get a check when I got.
Right, I didn't get a check for the check.
Open up my mailbox. Oh man, $1 million. Thank you.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? No, it's like, it's not like that. That's not how it works. It does make it a little bit easier to work with brands because they see that, and then they're like, okay, then this person must be a legitimate type of influence or figure or athlete or whatever it is. So they're more inclined to work with you, but that still does not guarantee you anything.
No.
And so, but
obviously just making it by. They're scraping by, even though they're legends and all that sort of stuff with their check marks and things like that and good following counts. But they're just getting by, going from meetup to meetup and hanging out at a buddy's house basically to, and that's going to be the reality for the first 5 years in a realistic sense before you start getting any money. And the only way you're going to get the money actually coming in is if you then can take that service or product, that following, and then create something with it and create value for your followers, or they won't pay you in return. So you need to have an underlying value, and that's very important. It's not that simple. It's not $1 million overnight.
Yeah, and of course that does happen sometimes. It's a very rare case, but I mean, yes, there are some influencers that are making a ton of money, but a majority are not really living that type of lifestyle, and there are some that are nowhere near that type of lifestyle. But yes, I mean, it's a rank. It's just like anything else, there are people that are succeeding and doing really well, and there are some that look like they're succeeding and doing really well, but they're not. And then there are some who aren't even hiding it. They're just like, I have a big following and stuff, but here I am, like, traveling around living in my car or something,
Yeah, I would say it's almost like that same sort of distribution, 80-20 kind of thing, and it's the kids don't realize that it's majority of influencers don't make money. It is, only the top few. So I'd rather them start a business than worry about just numbers. Get a good platform, get yourself 100,000, get yourself 200,000. But really, before you start dumping money into Facebook ads and stuff, and sponsored ads, go make a business. Go take the $50,000 you got from an inheritance or whatever it is and save it up and put that towards some kind of product design or some kind of business, and then go back to your social media. And that needs to be said,
Yeah, no, definitely. Just because, again, it's people see what they see, but they don't know any of the backstory. So they see these influencers doing all this crazy stuff, but they don't know how it happened. Like, yeah. So it's definitely something that needs to be said and needs to be known for people, kids and adults alike, who are trying to live this crazy lifestyle. They have to know that might not be the case.
Yeah, no, and most likely it won't be. You're going to need to substitute income with a job and stuff like that, and figure all that out. So yeah, no, it's good, and yeah, I think you're a perfect kind of influencer to kind of spread that message. Because that's kind of your bread and butter, really. It's helping these kids compared to some of them they're just making cringy content that just just selling out and all that sort of fun stuff. We know, but Yeah, no, it's
like some names are popping up in my head. I'm like,
me too. Yeah, but hey, everyone's got their thing. So I can't even diss them because everyone's got their thing, And if cringe content is your thing and it works for you and your followers like that, that's fine. I don't like vlogging. I don't like being in front of the camera. I would rather just kind of be the manager of certain business developments and stuff like that, and just shake hands with kids once in a while. But I don't want to get to that level. It's too much, and you're spending more time dealing with your audience than you are dealing with what you want them to know you for. And that's where there has to find a balance, how much you are building yourself versus just playing with your followers, which is nice. You got to reach out, but you can't just make your life about that.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like to each his own priorities and stuff. Like I still have a YouTube channel, and I used to vlog, and I'm going to pick it back up, but it's travel vlogs, and it's not daily vlogs, and it's not like this challenge or this challenge, and it's not like cringy content. It's just, it's my actual life and it's what I'm doing with certain events or certain things. And then that's it. It's like, nothing fake.
Go at your own pace.
I try to be transparent.
Yeah. That's tough sometimes, because you know that they're expecting a certain type of image. So you almost get locked into always having to be that guy now,
Yeah.
and that can get a little bit tiring because no one's always perfectly genuine all the time for everything from a biological perspective. Everyone has bad days, but as an influencer, you're not really allowed to have a bad day. So you got to make sure you're on and ready to go. So that also is stressful. But yeah, thanks, man. Thanks a lot for coming on the show. I think that we've talked a lot about a lot of great stuff, and it's good to get your perspective on just the social media and the influence and the lifestyle and all that. I think a lot of kids are going to really enjoy hearing your thoughts, and hopefully that they'll help them kind of turn their channel to a better tune that makes a little bit more sense rather than just pie in the sky fame. So a nice balance is good. So thank you so much for coming on, and we'll have to get you on again, maybe next actual event. GT Games or whatever it is, we can do like a live one, something fun.
Yeah. I mean, with the way the world's going right now, with the whole, everything's shut down, virus stuff, we're gonna have to do more of this virtual stuff. But yeah, I'm looking forward to more events with you in the future. GT Games is always fun. Meetups and stuff, always fun. So yeah, thanks for this. This was good. This was a good, refreshing talk to have.
Yeah, it's hard to have those conversations. Lots of influencers are tough to talk to, on a personal level and stuff. I just had a chat with Travis Wong, and he's a lot like you, kind of. We're just nice guy, easy to talk to, very helpful, but down to earth, knows business, understands what position they're in, not just, hey, 1 million followers, So
it's Trav is the man.
Yeah, no, he's a good guy. So well, hopefully you can find a few more of those to get on the show in the future. But thank you for coming on, and I guess we will see you at the next event or the next show.
All right. Yeah. Thanks again.
You, buddy. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed and learned a few things. There's a big world out there worth exploring, and I'm happy to be able to bring these great experiences right to you through this podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast and learned something, please share and take a screen grab of our funky cartoons and hashtag GRT certified for a chance to win a shout out to our community. Also, please leave us a review to be part of helping this information get out into the industry. It's much appreciated. Along with these podcasts, we have a large online content hub that we call the GRT Network, with many other interviews and full tutorials and written content discussing everything about acrobatics. We will be constantly growing this archive of videos like a cross between Netflix and Wikipedia for anyone in the acrobatic industry. We also have a complete online educational program for athletes of all levels that provides a do-it-yourself pathway to success for any acrobat. Check out our constantly growing library of playlists that will teach you anything from tightening up your social media, to how to get around fear, to even learning all the biology that underlies all your acrobatic skills. We work very hard with our team around the world to provide this exclusive content for you, and appreciate any donations made to the FTA to help keep these episodes coming at you. And if you want all the content, become a GRT Network full member to get exclusive content before everyone else and access to special discounts and giveaways through our amazing global partners. Thanks guys, see you next episode.